Hello and welcome to the May 24th, 2026 episode of Nick's News. I am your host Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we're paying for this project of ours. We're usually live every Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in and catching this special pre-recorded episode on the YouTube channel. This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like Industry Tap, Live Science, Positive.News, and GoodGoodGood.co, but we appreciate everything sent in by you, the Nick's Newsies. So good evening. Yes, this is indeed a pre-recorded episode. I am out of town, as of the time that you are watching this, most likely. I will be returning for the episode on the 31st, but we wanted to make sure that we could get some good news out there. So, we pre-recorded an episode for your viewing pleasure. Doesn't mean we're going to change anything up, though. You know, it's the same broadcast, so we're going to start off with a news brew. And this week, we've got something a little out of this world. I have had a grab bag of beer all throughout May. It's been kind of wild and a little random. And the flavor profile of the beer tonight is something else. So I present to you Bad Baptist Solstice. So this is a 13.2% ABV high-octane Imperial Coffee Stout. And if we look at this can, we've got orange zest, clove, star anise, pomegranate, and it's 100% whiskey barrel-aged. Dang! This is a wild brew. So I am looking forward to this. Now, it is an Imperial Stout, so we've got to rely on our trusty Harpoon limited edition snifter. We don't need the Balisong bottle opener because it's a can, so we'll just blow the gain on the audio. Get a good crack, and the theatrics of a 5-minute pour. Maybe we're going to start doing like pour ASMR at this time in the broadcast. That might be something fun to try. Wow. It smells like a spice bomb has gone off. That. Beautiful color. A little bit of a thinner pour, but really good head. All right, shout-outs. SB Mow It Forward's mission is to lend a hand where it's needed most. They help individuals tackle essential tasks that they can't manage on their own due to limited resources or physical challenges. At the same time, they are committed to empowering future entrepreneurs in the lawn and landscape industry by offering the tools, guidance, and support that they need to launch and grow successful businesses of their own. It's about building community, creating opportunity, and inspiring the next generation to serve. To SB Mowing and SB Mow It Forward. Cheers. Holy crap. What? What did I just drink? It's like there's a party in my mouth, and I don't know what to make of it. Jeez, everything that has been promised in this can, it did not come in waves. It all hit at once. And it like punched me in the throat. This may be a battle, folks. Another shout out that we have, happy 4th birthday to Bruce and Lily, producer Donna's furry office assistants. I would advise you to check out our Facebook page from last year. there is a post, or a pair of posts, one featuring Bruce and one featuring Lily. They were on our Tuesday posts of Nick's Newsies Flora and Fauna. And they are quite the pair. They're a very dynamic duo, and all the love and happiness for Bruce and Lily on their 4th birthday. Cheers. You know what I'm getting? I'm getting flashbacks to the pumpkin beer. The flavor profile is legit bringing me back into the pumpkin beer, and I'm going to struggle with this news brew tonight. But I guess we're getting it out of the way in May, instead of letting it fight us later. All right. News quote. If we start with something, work together, and stay ambitious, hope stops being a thing we wait to feel and becomes something we create. There's a little fuzzy floating around. Go away, you shoo fuzzy. I'm going to do that news quote again, because this news quote deserves repeating multiple times. If we start with something, work together, and stay ambitious, hope stops being a thing we wait to feel and becomes something we create. That comes from Malala Yousafzai, who was born in 1997, who is a Pakistani female education activist and producer of film and television, and is also the youngest Nobel Prize laureate in history, having received the Peace Prize at the age of 17. And I think that quote is amazing and rings true with everything that we try to do, everything that we try to do right. There is something to holding on to hope. But at some point, you got to stop waiting for hope. You got to stop waiting for things to happen. You've got to make things happen. You've got to get together. You've got to hold on to that ambition and see things through. And so, if you can do all of that, and I know you can, you'll make it, and you will make something amazing. So again, if we start with something, work together, and stay ambitious, hope stops being a thing we wait to feel and becomes something we create. Thank you very much, Malala Yousafzai. Cheers. Bug update. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Check out our Instagram on Tuesday. There's a big surprise. Check out the Instagram on Tuesday. Please. Otherwise, Elmira continues to stir occasionally in her burrow, which is nice. Ripley and Little John are photogenic as always and very active. The Cuddle Puddle is fighting again, so I think a breakup is imminent. And Sue. Oh, Sue. Check out the Instagram on Tuesday. That is all. All right, let's get into our broadcast. Our good news broadcast is broken up into 4 major categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice articles that we like to end on. So, we're going to start off in category 1, science and technology, and we've got 2 articles in this section for tonight. We called this first one, Hot Salty Power, coming right up. I will copy and paste this nowhere because I don't have a chat. Check out the links to all of our articles in the description of this video. We implore you to do so. A lot of work goes into this good news, and we are simply finding it and bringing it out into the light. So check out these sites, give them the traffic they deserve, maybe add them to your bookmarks so you can check them out too. But these are all great. Great sites, good news. Good to have. So, the United Kingdom has drilled 5 kilometers underground and found a real alternative to oil, bringing an old energy dream closer to the surface. This was published to Eco News on May 7th of 2026 by Eco News. In southwest England, a project near Redruth, Cornwall, is doing something the UK has not done before at a commercial scale. Geothermal Engineering Limited, or GEL, says its United Downs site is now generating electricity from hot brine brought up more than 3 miles underground. And it is also producing battery-grade lithium carbonate from that same fluid. It lands at a moment when fossil fuel markets are once again showing how jumpy they can be. Reuters reported that on April 29th of 2026, Brent crude climbed above $118 a barrel, and U.S. West Texas Intermediate rose past $105 as investors weighed supply disruption risks tied to the Iran conflict. If your electric bill and the price at the pump feels connected, that's why. Geothermal power is always on, and it's a renewable source of electricity, meaning it does not depend on sunshine or wind. That makes it less flashy than a new solar farm, sure, but potentially more useful on the days when the grid is stretched thin and everyone is running the air conditioner. For United Downs, the pitch is energy security with fewer surprises. Octopus Energy founder Greg Jackson put it bluntly when he said, "Bills are still too high, and the answer is more homegrown, renewable energy." The basics sound almost too simple. You drill into hot granite, pull up mineral-rich water, harvest the heat, and then send the cooled fluid back down again. At United Downs, GEL says its deepest well reaches about 5,057 meters, or roughly 3.14 miles, and temperatures can exceed 190 degrees Celsius, or about 374 degrees Fahrenheit. The wells are designed to intersect a fractured structure called the Porthtowan Fault Zone, which helps move fluid through the rock. So why not just boil water into steam like traditional plants do? You know, that seems to be all we're capable of, is even splitting the atom to boil water. Well, at these temperatures, many geothermal projects use a binary system that transfers heat into a secondary fluid, and that vaporizes more easily, spinning a turbine without venting any of that brine. A technical project paper describing the organic Rankine cycle design says brine enters the system at around 170 degrees Celsius, or 338 degrees Fahrenheit for those of us that landed people on the moon, and it's cooled to about 50 degrees Celsius, or 122 degrees Fahrenheit after the heat is captured. That lower temperature is not wasted because it sets up the next step, which is mineral extraction. Industry reporting describes United Downs as a 3-megawatt power plant, with output expected to cover around 10,000 homes through a power purchase agreement with Octopus Energy. The same reporting described the proof of concept project as costing about $68 million. The physical footprint is also limited compared to many other energy projects. Reporting around the launch described the site at about 0.6 hectares, which is roughly 1.5 acres, which is closer to a small retail lot than a sprawling industrial zone. GEL says geothermal projects can reach about 5 to 15 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour, or roughly 0.01 to 0.03 pounds, though real-world values vary by design and geology. The second output is what makes this project different. After power generation, the brine is processed for direct lithium extraction, producing lithium carbonate before the fluid is re-injected underground in the closed loop. Hatch, which worked on the lithium facility, says the brine contains more than 340 parts per million of lithium. The chemical Engineer reported expected production of about 100 metric tons of lithium carbonate equivalent per year, which is about 110 US short tons at the current scale. Electric vehicles and grid batteries are not just about cleaner air and traffic. They also require huge volumes of minerals, and lithium is one of the biggest pressure points in that supply chain. So, the International Energy Agency expects that lithium demand is going to grow about five-fold by 2040 under today's stated policies. That does not mean that every new project is automatically green, but it does help explain why governments are looking for lower impact sources, including direct extraction from brines and more recycling. Deep geothermal is low carbon for the most part, but it is not impact free. One of the main risks is induced seismicity. Since injecting and withdrawing fluids in fractured rock can trigger small earthquakes, which is why project documentation emphasizes monitoring and safe operating limits during testing. The lithium side has its own checklist. Direct lithium extraction can reduce land disturbance compared with some mining routes, but it still uses industrial equipment and chemicals, and it produces waste streams that need transparent reporting and careful handling. Gel and industry coverage say the company is developing additional deep geothermal sites in Cornwall, aiming for about 10 more megawatts of geothermal power by 2030. Scaling beyond a single plant is where the real climate impact would show up. But it also depends on drilling costs and on finding rocks that can deliver reliable long-term flow. The British Geological Survey notes that some UK granites can reach temperatures of about 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit at 3.1 miles or 5 kilometers depth, which is hot enough for power generation. For now, United Downs is a real-world test of whether one set of wells can deliver clean electrons and critical minerals without trading one environmental problem for another. That is really neat that we are able to harness power and the minerals that we need to run other things on our planet from our planet. And then we can just shoot it back into the earth. So, to everybody working on utilizing hydroelectric power, or not hydroelectric, I'm sorry, geothermal power in this manner, cheers. Oh. Oh, this beer is not doing me any favors. Oh. Oh. All right. Next article in Science and Technology we called Seriously, Nature Always Does It Better. Want stronger concrete? Just add oysters. This was published to Popular Science on May 6th of 2026 by Andrew Paul. Concrete is everywhere. And that's the problem. Manufacturing the essential material accounts for around 8% of annual global carbon dioxide emissions, making it one of the single biggest contributors to the climate crisis. Researchers are investigating all types of creative solutions to the issue, often by replacing ingredients with more eco-friendly alternatives. Recent propositions include adding coffee grounds, bacteria, and even recycled diapers into the mix. But engineers at Purdue University in Indiana think the answer can already be found in the natural world. According to a study recently published in the journal Chemistry of Materials, one solution may be swapping out the cement for shellfish. Oysters generate a natural cement. They use this material for attaching to each other when building reef structures, chemist and study co-author Jonathan Wilker explained in a recent university profile. Wilker has spent years examining the biological properties of oyster cement in hopes of recreating the sturdy adhesive for other applications. They have since learned that the bivalves bind together by producing the inorganic compound calcium carbonate, basically chalk. While calcium carbonate isn't usually adhesive by itself, oysters also produce a small amount of stickier organic materials like phosphorylated proteins. This allows the shellfish to fuse together, even when saturated in water. After breaking down the chemical composition of oyster cement, Wilker's team recreated it in a laboratory. They then collected a bunch of limestone bathroom tiles, since their calcium carbonate is virtually identical to oyster shells, and from there they glued stacks of tiles together using their artificial biomimetic cement. In nearly every stress test, the tiles broke before the bond itself. Confident in their faux oyster cement's abilities, Wilker and colleagues finally tried combining a polymer from their creation into commercially available concrete mix. In lab tests, their oyster-inspired concrete was 10 times stronger while doubling its compressive strength. On top of all of that, it took less time to cure. Wilker's team plans to continue testing their patent-pending recipe. He notes that it's not simply stronger, it's even more eco-friendly when compared to most adhesives on the market. Most of the adhesives that you see at the hardware store are made of organic compounds derived from petroleum, he said. There is so much more that we can learn from nature. I love that article. I studied concrete quite a bit while I was getting my engineering degree. And we have talked about concrete over and over and over again, and how we can make it better. And this is a step in the right direction. So to everybody around the world and everybody at Purdue University working on a replacement for cement using organic compounds derived and thought up by the stuff that oysters make, cheers. All right, that is going to get us out of science and technology. We're going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. We got one article in this one tonight. We called it A Different Kind of Tea Party. These tea bags aren't made for making tea. They remove arsenic. This was published to Eureka Alert on the 14th of April 2026. It was a peer-reviewed publication by the American Chemical Society. Arsenic contamination in drinking water is a global issue, with over 200 million people estimated to be at risk. While water treatment plants remove the metal, the problem persists in low-resource areas or undertreated well water. So, researchers reporting in ACS Omega have designed a simple solution: an arsenic-removing tea bag. The system is inexpensive, costing around 7 cents to clean a liter of water, and highly effective, removing over 90% of the arsenic ions present. Clean drinking water should not depend on access to expensive infrastructure. Our research shows that simple low-cost materials can be engineered into scalable solutions for arsenic remediation from drinking water, one of the world's most urgent public health crises, explains Vic Tan, a high school student intern and author on the paper. The World Health Organization, or the WHO, has set a limit for safe drinking water of 10 micrograms of arsenic per liter. However, due to natural leaching from certain minerals or from human activities like mining, the arsenic concentrations in groundwater can exceed this limit, often requiring high-tech removal systems like reverse osmosis. In regions without wide-scale water treatment, such as parts of Southeast Asia, arsenic exposure remains high. This has led to high rates of arsenic poisoning and health problems related to long-term arsenic exposure, including cancer and childhood development issues. Tan, with a team of researchers led by Adam Braunschweig, proposes a method for removing arsenic ions from drinking water that's as simple as making a cup of tea. Previously, it had been discovered that heavy metals like arsenic naturally stick to some tea bags during the brewing process. So these researchers wanted to create a tea bag that was specially designed for removing arsenic ions. The team took cellulose-based tea bags, embedded them with magnetic iron oxide nanoparticles, and filled the bags with pulverized eggshells, two ingredients that are really good arsenic absorbers. Experiments showed that one tea bag could remove at least 90% of the arsenic ions from water, and in one 6-hour test, more than 98% of arsenic was removed from 50 milliliters of contaminated water. In a sample representative of well water in Bangladesh, one tea bag reduced the arsenic content to below the WHO's drinking water limit. A used tea bag could be rinsed, washed in alkaline solution, dried, and then reused up to 5 times, though the tea bag's arsenic removal efficiency dropped by about 20% with each reuse. The cost to treat 1 liter of water with the tea bags is about 7 cents, considerably less than water treatment by reverse osmosis. The researchers say that this work demonstrates a new, scalable, and cost-effective solution to a global health problem, and their future work will focus on making this innovation ready to bring to those who need it. The authors acknowledge funding from the Army Educational Outreach Program, the Stockholm Junior Water Prize, the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, and the National Science Foundation. That is really great. Basically, something as simple as a 7-cent tea bag to clean arsenic out of a liter of water. Really amazing stuff. To Vic Tan and everybody involved in this study, trying to find new ways to purify drinking water safely and efficiently to remove arsenic. Cheers. Oh. Yeah, this beer's fighting me. Oh, this is going to be a long one. Ooh. Gotta take my time with this. Because I can't chug it because it's 13.2%. Oh, just super... It's like a pumpkin stout. It's like a pumpkin stout. If I ever see clove on a beer can and it's not a pumpkin beer, I'm just not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy a pumpkin beer unless it's October for torturing myself. But this is a different kind of bad. This has taken my favorite type of stout, an Imperial Stout, and has twisted it into a dark monster that is fighting me actively. All right. Enough of this bad beer. This bad beer aside. Toss it to the side. Let's get out of health and medicine. We are going to get into category 3, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. We've got 2 articles in here, and this first one we called, What the Flying Flock Is This? Meant to say, what the flying flock is this, but the beer is getting to me. So, let's get into the article. A bird flu vaccine for humans is being trialed. Here's how it works. This was published to The Conversation on May 8th of 2026 by Roha Hadianamri. The first ever avian influenza vaccine recently started trials in the UK. This marks a milestone in the prevention of bird flu infections in humans. The vaccine targets the H5N1 flu strain, which causes severe infections in bird populations worldwide. However, this strain of bird flu virus is also able to spread to humans, in rare cases through direct contact with infected birds or poultry products. This latest trial hopes to test the vaccine in people who are most at risk of acquiring bird flu. This includes people who work in poultry industries and people who are above 65 years of age. This new bird flu vaccine is an mRNA-based vaccine, and this is the same technology that we used for the COVID vaccines. Messenger ribonucleic acid, or mRNA, acts as a messenger between the genes and the microscopic factories inside human cells that produce proteins. It carries a message from the genes to these cellular factories to produce proteins with specific structures. For instance, mRNA plays a role in producing the enzymes that regulate our metabolism, the hemoglobin that carries oxygen to our tissues, and the antibodies that protect us against infections. Vaccines that use mRNA technology deliver instructions to cellular protein production factories, telling them to produce certain proteins that are normally present on the surface of a specific virus. By doing so, the vaccines generate a fake disease, which is less severe than the actual disease caused by the virus. The immune system sees the viruses, or any parts of them, such as these proteins, as intruders and tries to destroy them. Once the fake disease has been suppressed, the immune system holds a memory of this particular virus. That way, if a person contracts the virus in the future, the immune system will respond very quickly and very strongly to destroy the viruses and stop the spread of the disease. But in order for an mRNA vaccine to be effective, it needs to be efficiently transported from the site of administration to the blood and the immune cells. Like a letter that needs an envelope to be delivered from the sender to the recipient, an mRNA also needs the right carrier so it can be delivered to the immune cells. Similar to the COVID vaccines, this new bird flu vaccine is going to use microscopic fatty spheres called lipid nanoparticles that carry the mRNA. These microscopic envelopes are about 100 to 200 nanometers in size. That's almost 100,000 times smaller than a penny. They're made of a combination of different fats, or lipids, that form a microscopic sphere, which the mRNA is enveloped in. Different combinations of fats are used to customize the lipid nanoparticles to the cargo that they carry. This maximizes the mRNA load that they can carry and ensures they don't fall apart before delivering their cargo successfully. Before the introduction of mRNA-based vaccines and lipid nanoparticle technology, most influenza vaccines were developed by genetically modifying or chemically inactivating the viruses. While these live attenuated or inactivated viruses couldn't induce a full-scale infection, they did still trigger the immune response. But this process is very costly, it's time-consuming, and it's had varied success. So it was only reserved for viruses that were on the World Health Organization's priority list. As bird flu has historically posed a low infection risk to humans, there hasn't been an incentive to develop a vaccine for it. But advances in mRNA technology and lipid nanoparticles have now provided us with the tools for developing effective vaccines against a greater number of viral infections in a fast and cost-effective manner, including low-priority diseases such as bird flu. Although bird flu currently poses a low threat to humans, it does have the potential to cause a pandemic if its spread is not controlled. There are some key reasons for this. In birds, H5N1 is highly virulent and new strains evolve very rapidly. It also has the potential to cross over into a variety of mammalian species, including humans. Infection with bird flu can cause severe illness that is hard to treat in vulnerable people. This includes those over the age of 65 and people with a compromised immune system, such as cancer patients or people who have received an organ transplant. Therefore, it could have serious repercussions if the virus was able to spread more readily between birds and humans. The vaccine trial is a proactive attempt to protect people against the possibility of a future pandemic and to protect those who are more vulnerable to severe bird flu infections. The lipid nanoparticle technology the bird flu vaccine uses also has broader health applications beyond infectious diseases. One application is in developing cancer vaccines, where they will be used for treating an existing cancer in patients. The author leads a research group at the University of Portsmouth that works on developing new mRNA based vaccines against different types of cancer, including breast, cervical, and colorectal cancers using lipid nanoparticles. The same technology is used in Moderna's mRNA vaccine against melanoma that is currently in the trials in the UK. Awesome! The mRNA that is used in cancer vaccines instructs a type of immune cell called a dendritic cell to produce the same proteins that are expressed on tumor cells. The lipid nanoparticles act as envelopes to carry the mRNA to those cells specifically. These cells produce and present the cancer proteins to the other members of the immune system, including killer T cells. As a result, the body sees the tumor cells as an intruder and will try to destroy them, just as it does other viruses. Advances in mRNA synthesis and lipid nanoparticle technology mark a new era in vaccination. These new technologies enable us to produce new vaccines more quickly and to customize them to achieve higher effectiveness. This is of paramount importance for preventing pandemics in the future. That is fantastic. To everybody working on the next, to prevent the next potential pandemic by working on a vaccine for bird flu. Cheers. Oh. This next one we called Like Selling Water in the Desert. San Diego has so much excess drinking water that it's selling it to states in desperate need. This was published to The Cool Down on April 22nd, 2026 by Hope Guyan. As the climate reshapes the rules of survival, flexibility may become the most valuable resource. In a striking example of adaptation, San Diego is turning ocean water into a potential lifeline for the drought-stricken West, according to the Wall Street Journal. With the flow of the Colorado River steadily declining, Arizona and Nevada are negotiating a first-of-its-kind agreement with the San Diego County Water Authority to secure a more reliable drinking water supply from the region's state-of-the-art desalination facility. The Colorado River supplies water to roughly 40 million people across 7 states, but it's under mounting pressure from population growth and a warming climate. Key reservoirs, including Lake Mead, have dropped to historic low levels. San Diego's response offers a compelling model for long-term planning. After a devastating 5-year drought that ended in 1992, the region invested billions to reduce its dependence on imported water. Today, it relies on far more diversified sources, including the Carlsbad Desalination Plant, the largest of its kind in North America. As a result, San Diego now stands out in a region marked by scarcity, with a rare surplus in water capacity. The cry was never again, said Bob Yamada, San Diego County Water Authority's former head of water resources, per the Wall Street Journal. Rather than physically transporting water across state lines, the proposed deal would rely on water transfers. In simple terms, Arizona and Nevada would help fund San Diego's desalinated supply in exchange for access to a portion of California's allocation from the Colorado River. The arrangement could provide enough water for up to 500,000 people. As droughts intensify and extreme heat strains existing supplies, households may face rising utility costs, stricter water restrictions, and risks to critical sectors like agriculture and food production. Securing reliable, innovative water sources is key to maintaining community stability and supporting local economies under growing pressures. San Diego's approach shows what's possible with long-term investment and conservation. After decades of water-saving efforts, residents have nearly halved their usage, leaving the city with surplus supply it can now share. "I think we're moving to a realization," said Gary Arendt, the former longtime general manager of the Valley Center Municipal Water District, per the Wall Street Journal. "You've got to be able to move water from where it is to where it's needed." That is very awesome to be able to do, to produce a surplus of available water, enough to sell off shares from another water source. To everybody involved in this, making sure that there is a spread of fresh water. Cheers. Ugh. Ugh, poison. Pumpkinish poison. All right. That's going to get us out of flora and fauna. We're going to move on to category 4, the wholesome notes. This first one we called Son of a Beach. That's a lot of sand. And this site has to do with a beach renourishment project. Specifically, Myrtle Beach's renourishment project. The Myrtle Beach area is undergoing a federally funded beach renourishment project to help protect life, property, and wildlife along 60 miles of coastline. While this important work is underway for several months, the state of South Carolina, sorry, I had a brain fart there. The state of South Carolina wants to assure visitors that most of the beach will remain open and disruptions will be brief and minimal. Beach renourishment restores eroded shorelines by replacing sand back on a beach, strengthening dunes, preserving habitats, and reducing the risk of storm damage. The project is led by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Charleston District, in partnership with local communities, including North Myrtle Beach, Surfside Beach, and Garden City. So why are the beaches requiring to be renourished? Well, beach erosion caused by Hurricane Ian in 2022 and Hurricane Debby in 2024 prompted a post-storm damage assessment, which concluded that beach renourishment was needed to maintain the coastline's integrity and protect the Grand Strand's infrastructure, homes, and businesses. The project is going to place 2 million cubic yards of sand, or about 200,000 dump trucks, across 26 miles of shoreline. A beach renourishment effort is typically necessary every 7 to 10 years, depending on weather conditions and storms passing through the area. Horry County's last beach renourishment was back in 2019. So how does this help the Myrtle Beach area? Well, it's going to provide critical storm surge and erosion protection. Not only with hurricanes is there the massive winds that are blowing around and all the rain that can be dumped and potential tornadoes made, but when hurricanes are out over the water, they move water. And what we call that is a storm surge. And what storm surge is really good at doing is eroding sand and pulling sand away. So, by rebuilding and widening the beach, the renourishment creates a natural barrier that's going to absorb the impact of the hurricane-driven waves of the storm surge. A healthy beach and dune system helps keep floodwaters from reaching homes, businesses, and vital infrastructure like roads and utilities. In past storms, wider beaches have significantly reduced property damage, proving that renourishment is one of the most cost-effective forms of hurricane protection. There are some other ones I could list, but we'll stick to this article and what it's going over. Renourishment is also going to preserve valuable habitat for sea turtles, shorebirds, and marine life that use these areas as spawning grounds, hunting grounds, basically life that needs these shores to propagate. So We're going to bring those back. And it also supports the local economy. The Grand Strand sees millions of visitors annually and generates billions into the local economy, which supports jobs, local services like public safety and schools, and keeps resident taxes low. It's going to help ensure that Myrtle Beach remains beautiful, safe, and resilient for future generations. If you want to take a trip to Myrtle Beach, are you going to be impacted? There's very little impact on your potential trips to the Myrtle Beach area if you want to go. The project is carefully designed to keep most of the beach open and accessible. The work is going to take place in 1,000-foot sections at a time, or about 3 city blocks. Each section is going to be closed for only 2 to 3 days while the crews work around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visitors can still enjoy the rest of the beach. It's easy to walk around the temporary work zones. There will be pipelines that are running along the beach outside of the fenced areas, and those can be safely crossed where the contractors are going to place crossover sand ramps on the pipes. The public, however, should keep away from lines and only cross these pipes at the sand crossovers, so be wary of that if you go to this area. There will also be safety barriers and signage that will be clearly marked with closed areas. How long is it going to take? Well, the work is expected to start it already started, because it was supposed to start in late fall of 2025. Expected completion should be mid-summer of this year, 2026, which depends on the weather and the current availability. The crews are going to operate, like I said, 24/7, 7 days a week, so that they stay on schedule. It's going to begin at the north end, and it's going to move south under the following planned timetable. So North Myrtle Beach was going to be done back in December of 2025. The city of Myrtle Beach was done in February 2026, and Surfside Beach and Garden City Beach was done in April of 2026. Is the beach renourishment project safe? Yes. And safety is the top priority, so here's what to expect. There's going to be heavy machinery, like bulldozers and pipelines present in work zones. But that's about it, just in the work zones. Stay out of the closed areas and cross only where designated. There's going to be some noise occurring because it's construction equipment being moved around. So there's going to be backup alarms, there's going to be all sorts of noises, but again, it's in the work area. A firm has been contracted to monitor vibrations from the construction equipment throughout the project to make sure that it's not going to disrupt the beaches. So they are keeping in mind the areas of the beach that will be open while they're at work. So how about sea turtles and wildlife? Well, the project is being conducted with full respect for the local wildlife. Daily environmental monitoring is going to take place for sea turtles, migratory shorebirds, and sea life. If turtle nests are found in a construction zone, they are going to be relocated and protected. If a turtle is present, all work in that area stops immediately. And that is a big one. Basically, again, moving around, hundreds of tons of equipment and sand, but the moment you see a turtle, they're going to stop. So very good on them for keeping wildlife in mind while they are going through this renourishment process. What's the cost like for something like this? And who's paying for it? The project is 100% federally funded through the emergency relief of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The total cost is $72 million, which is an increase from past projects due to rising equipment costs and greater sand needs. But how do you get all that sand to the beach? Well, the sand is going to be dredged up from an offshore borrow area into what's called a hopper dredge. And the hopper dredge motors sand from the borrow area closer to the project site and is hooked up to a submerged pipeline. The submerged pipeline runs from just off the beach up onto the beach and connects to a shore pipeline, which is going to run laterally along the dry beach. The sand is discharged as a water-sand slurry mixture through that pipeline, and bulldozers will reshape the sand to meet the designed construction template. The nourishment sand will be excavated by a hydraulic dredge, and it picks up small amounts of shell and mud with the sand. For that reason, newly placed sand at first appears quite dark. Within a few days, however, the sun oxidizes the non-sandy material, and the beach eventually turns as light as it was before the project. Will the project uncover buried treasure? While the question might seem a little far-fetched, the fact is there's actually some fascinating things that can happen during the process that make it engaging for entire families. New sand often contains more shells, shell fragments, sea glass, and shark teeth that are native to the beach. Visitors sometimes find larger or more unusual shells or shark teeth right after renourishment. While offshore borrow areas are carefully chosen to avoid archaeological sites, occasionally small man-made items or unusual stones may surface. Anything significant, though, like shipwreck material or artifacts, is extremely rare, and if found, must be reported. If you start finding doubloons on the beach, you're not allowed to keep them, I don't think. I think you're supposed to report them. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers do environmental and archaeological surveys before dredging, and borrow areas are selected specifically to avoid disturbing historic shipwrecks or cultural resources. What if you want to educate your family during the process? Get some knowledge out of this. Well, let's face it, this is an impressive example of engineering. The beach renourishment process can be both fascinating and educational, allowing families to showcase it as a science-based learning lesson. It's mind-boggling. They're literally moving millions of cubic yards of sand, the equivalent to hundreds of thousands of dump trucks. And it's going to dramatically change the beach profile in just days. Sand and water shooting onto the beach is kind of fun to watch. I've been looking at some of the pictures of it, and it looks crazy. The slurry mixture of sand and seawater is discharged with a large amount of force, almost like a giant fire hose, creating a temporary river of sand that bulldozers then shape into the new beach. You can get an eyeful of what we were talking about earlier, where that sand is going to be dark because it's got a lot of organic compounds. Well, it's going to lighten up, and actually, you could have some good discussions about how that's occurring. Oxidation is a really good one to teach people about, in my opinion. I think everybody should understand exactly what oxidation is. There will be the creation of temporary sand cliffs. As new sand piles up, the beach is going to form small ridges or drop-offs that are later going to smooth out, which is going to show how quickly the shoreline reshapes itself even without the bulldozer's help. And then lastly, there will be environmental teams patrolling daily, which are relocating the sea turtle nests if necessary and halting work if turtles or shorebirds are present. So visitors can often get to see the conservationists in action. If you want to stay updated, there's a number of websites that you can check out on the link on the article itself. I highly recommend that you check them out if you're interested in this project, because this is some really neat stuff. Effectively rebuilding a shoreline that a couple of hurricanes just erased, and showing off humanity's ability to build and reshape nature. So, to everybody involved in South Carolina's Myrtle Beach Renourishment Project, good luck and cheers. Hey, Little John. For those of you who watch this, there's Little John, our Emperor Scorpion. He really is one of the most photogenic of the bunch. He loves to just come out and crawl around during the broadcasts and the TikTok recordings, so... And there he goes. See you, buddy. All right. We are going to get to our final article of this episode, and we called it Fulfilling a Dream. Wisconsin teen delivers on lifelong promise to take his grandma to prom. This was published to Upworthy on May 7th of 2026 by Eric Barnes. When Avant Williams was just a toddler, he made a promise to his grandma, Svala Heller. While sweet, promises from kids around age 2 aren't expected to be kept. But now in his junior year of high school, Williams kept his 14-year-old promise and took his grandmother to his prom. Since I was like a little kid, my grandma's been telling me she wanted to go to prom. It's her dream. And then today, I just feel like I should make that come true, Williams said to KBTX News through WXWO. She didn't have a prom. So then, my junior year of prom, she told me I have to take her. So that's why we're here, Williams said with a big smile. Heller grew up in Iceland, where high school proms aren't common. However, she was intrigued and loved the idea from years of watching American television. Many shows she watched featured the extravagance of the high school dance. I've always wanted to go to a prom, said Heller. Watching American TV and all that glamour that goes with it, and for 14 years he's been saying, yeah, one day I will take you to prom. Williams enjoyed having his grandma as his prom date alongside his best friend, Reuben Smith. After having dinner together, all suited and dressed to the nines, they went to the La Crosse Central High School prom in Wisconsin. I was definitely excited, said Williams. I mean, I've only been looking up to this moment since I was like 2 years old. So, it's a big deal for my grandma, and it's like I feel very special that I can take her to this prom. Heller got to have everything about prom she dreamed about. Posing for pictures with Williams and his friends, dancing, and everything else the American teens she saw on television experienced. Only for Heller, it was even better enjoying it with her loving grandson. It's so special, said Heller. We have such a special bond. I'm just taking every inch in and just enjoying every moment. Being her grandson's prom date won't just be a wonderful memory for Heller, but a lasting one for Williams. It means the world to me. I love my grandma. She's been there for me my whole life. I'm just happy I can make her dream come true, he said. Over the years, there have been other grandsons who have taken their grandmothers to the big high school dance. In 2014, Ohio teen Austin Dennison took his 89-year-old great-grandmother, Granny Dee Dee, to his prom because she couldn't afford to go when she was a high schooler. South Carolina student Connor Campbell took his 93-year-old grandmother to his prom in 2017. In 2022, North Dakota student Dakota Wallen took his great-grandmother to what was both his and her first prom. Traditionally, prom is a ritual to celebrate the current generation before they get into adulthood. It can create lasting fond memories as that teen grows into adulthood. However, based on Williams, Heller, and other grandson-grandmother prom pairings, it can also create wonderful family memories too. To Avant Williams, for taking his grandmother, who never had a chance to experience prom, to prom for the first time. Cheers. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you again for tuning in and seeing this pre-recorded episode on the Nick's News YouTube channel. We're usually live every Sunday, and I promise you, we will be back with a live episode on May 31st of 2026. We encourage participation, so by all means, if you feel inclined, you can post or message us suggestions for news brews, shoutouts, news quotes, and especially good news articles that we can present on future episodes. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram, or email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. And if you send us a bunch of articles, try to spread them out across our 4 major categories, which again were science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, and wholesome notes. The really nice ones we like to end on. Feel free to like, subscribe, or comment on our content across all of the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, to get good news and joy out into the algorithms. Y'all continue to help Nick's News grow, and it is amazing. Please no SEO improvement advertisements, though. We're not interested. Everyone else is doing a good enough job of letting folks know, hey, there's some good news and joy to spread in the world. So, as always, thank you all. Again, I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.